Aloha, friends and neighbors. Rollin Frost here, Kona astrologer, and we're going to cover the last week in November in the sky mirror, coming right up. I'm sitting here on November 4th, believe it or not, doing this show for you, and so you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little harsh or a little discouraged. I always get that way at election time, huh? Comes from understanding that all these people are voting for Republicans. But then, why should I bother you with it? Let's take a look at the sky mirror. Let's see what's important here. Well, first of all, Neptune stationed last Saturday night for you. If you're on the Thursday show, that's what, 5 days ago? Yeah. And you had a new moon on the 22nd coming up. That's Saturday for you. And that one is at 0 Sag. It squares Neptune. And you may be unhappy with some Neptune stuff. Furthermore, Mercury squares Neptune Friday night. That's tomorrow night for you. And so with Neptune so strong still, you could lose your keys. You could lose lots of odd things. Here's Neptune. We're still talking a lot about him. I mean, you can figure 20 days before the station, 20 days thereafter, the influence of these guys gets stronger and stronger and stronger and peaks out last Saturday night. And now it's waning and going down. But you still got another week while Neptune's strong. If you're spilling liquids, look out. It has to do with liquids. You're drinking too much? Yeah, it could be that Neptune bad in your chart right now. Neptune is, I call him priest, artist, doctor, musician. Pisces, huh? He rules Pisces. 2 little fish. That's a trident. You see above, it's for spearing fish. So, Neptune, I'm going to talk a lot about him on this show. He's a tricky customer. He is indeed. What's important here is that Mercury is squaring him, and that square could occupy you a lot for a little bit. Jupiter is still squaring Saturn here, and of course Uranus is a 13 now, squaring Pluto. We'll talk more about Uranus too, because he's up ahead in the middle of December. He's going to shake you a little bit. But Neptune tends to act in a way that's strange. He makes you insecure, foggy. You don't know where I'm going. I lost it. You know, it's like when you drink alcohol, it's basically an anesthetic. It just numbs, especially the outer parts of your brain that get most of the blood circulation. The outer parts are the high parts that give you ethic, gives you your humanity. Pretty soon, all that area is numb. And the midbrain, the animal brain, is there yet, But that's what Neptune does, is it kind of numbs you, and it gets foggy, and I don't know where I got lost. Oh my goodness. I drank too much. The Mayans said the number 5 was important to excesses, and you should never drink the 5th glass of pulque. The 5th beer, the 5th drink, is the one that gets you in trouble. And you forget where you left your car. Gee, there's a good example. It's not this coming Friday. It's your next Friday. Yeah. That Mercury squares Neptune. So, let's take a look at this day by day and see how it runs, huh? We're going to run the moon around the edge of this planetary pattern. And as it makes angles to things, the actors on the stage all get up and have their way. The planets are the actors, by the way. You're watching this on the Thursday show. The moon's in Scorpio. And you had a pretty good Thursday. Started with some religion, art, music, sensitivity in the morning. Ended with some discovery. Not bad. As the moon goes through late Scorpio, it's going to hit that Mercury. Now, Mercury is clear back to 19 Scorpio, so it's not engaging any tough guys yet, except it's squaring Jupiter. And so everybody tends to talk too much. It's in the middle of Friday, And the kids won't be quiet, and there's too much yelling and laughing and, all that stuff. Not real easy. Leave those kids alone, teacher. It's Friday. Yeah. The moon hits Saturn here about 9-10 o'clock, depending on your location, on Friday the 21st. And it's in Scorpio, so there's a lot of planning and maybe some concerns about the cold and the ice and the snow and your budget and the time. And, if you stay up too late Friday, it's just going to get depressed. You drink alcohol, it dehydrates you, you get more depressed. So if you're going to make plans, make sure they're positive Friday. Saturday morning, the moon shifts into Sagittarius, and there's a new moon. So there's a new beginning there. I hope your planning Friday night went well. If it didn't, shut it down, because you're going to start again Saturday morning with a new moon. And it feels a little different. It's there next to Saturn, so this new moon has a lot of that, planning and managing and all of that stuff. Saturn is Republicans. Jupiter is Democrats. Ugh! Don't get me started. Anyway, it's a new moon Saturday morning, and it's good for planning, and it's good for basically starting to build foundations, this new moon. It's good all the way through the afternoon, and then you hit that square to Neptune. It gets confusing, off balance, liquids are spilling, not so hot. Just, remain calm, clean up the mess, because here Saturday night, there's a nice conjunction to Venus. And there's sweets, and there's sex, and there's love, and there's pleasure, and it's going kind of well. It continues right through Sunday. On Sunday morning, here's a trine to Uranus. Throw in some brotherhood, some togetherness, some sudden pleasures and fun, spontaneity. It's a pretty good Sunday, actually. On the afternoon, there's a nice trine to Jupiter. Comes up Sunday after, about dinner time, and in that time of day. And so there's some optimism creeps in, too. Not a bad Sunday altogether. On Monday, the moon shifts into Capricorn on the 24th, which feels pretty good through the middle of the day and the afternoon. There's a sextile to Neptune. And here's a time when the goodies from Neptune can come down. Sensitivity, color, art, music. This is a time when religion will make some sense and you'll see the good of it. So, yeah, stick with that vibe Monday. It's a good one. Tuesday morning, you could wake up to alarm bells. The moon's going by Pluto. Eek, a bug! A little panicky. It sets off your reptile brain. The moon going by Pluto. I know. I got up this morning, and I got a new species of ants in the house. And they're so tiny. I can't see them. They're so tiny. But they found the cat food. They found the cat food water. They found the little sugar tightly wrapped in a bag for my coffee. They found all the goodies that I didn't want them to find. And when I pick up the thing, they're all over your hands and arms. And even with my reading glasses, I couldn't see them. They're so small. Whole new smallness is power here. Eek, a bug. It squares Uranus. You feel all alone, too. Tuesday morning is shocking and feeling alone. But at least, we've got a decent new moon here. We're not back in the time of the full moon on Uranus. I got more to say about that. The whole month of an eclipse right next to the Uranus squaring Pluto. Ugh. Anyway, Tuesday starts panicky and alone, and it's difficult. It's quite difficult. Mars is up ahead here. And Tuesday night you'll be in the Mars zone, and you'll be trying to get, something fixed, and it won't be easy. There is a sextile to Saturn that comes up, but it isn't until the end of your next week, and constructive work can get done. And on Wednesday morning, for a little bit, here's the sextile to Saturn, and you need a plan. You have something with money and budget and time. And talk it over and communicate and talk about it. And that's what happens here Wednesday morning. By the afternoon, you feel pretty good. Here's a sextile to that new moon sun. And by golly, let's go ahead with this. We got our plan, and you feel so good about it all, you're willing to relax Wednesday. Here's some sweets, some loving. It's late Wednesday night. It's like 11, 12 o'clock Hawaiian time. Worth staying up late. What the heck? Thursday, the 27th, it kind of continues. You still got good vibes running through until you get to the evening, past dinner, and here's an opposition to Jupiter. Doggone lawyers. You know, everybody wants too much. Overdoing it all. Watch out what you eat. Don't eat too much Thursday night, the 27th. Moon in Aquarius. Moon in Aquarius continues through Friday to the middle of the day. And here's a square to Saturn. And things get slowed down. And first you're upset with the Democrats and the lawyers. Here's Thursday night. And by Friday morning you're upset with the managers and the CEOs and the judges. Yeah. So this is not good. The square kind of holds everybody up. And it won't break loose until the moon goes into Pisces after lunch on Friday. And then it changes. The danger here is that you'll get all inspired because the moon goes by Neptune here. It's about 9 o'clock, something like that. But here's a square to Mercury, and you lost the keys. And the kids are a hassle, and you can't communicate. And by the time you get to midnight or so, here's a square to the sun. And so this turned out to be a bunch of bad inspiration here. You feel inspired Friday, look out. Because you can't communicate and transportate. Mercury's a problem. You're not going to get it done anyway, so you got to be kind of careful. You know how after a couple of beers you feel like, oh, I can do anything. Well, Friday night's not the time for it. A lot of people are going to do it. They're going to go off on big wild inspirations. And look out. Saturday morning, here's the sextile to Pluto. Somebody will get the bail bondsman to come and get the drunk out of the jail. But, you know, this is discovery, Saturday morning, the 29th. And it's worthwhile looking for new stuff. There's a bad Venus square here. This is about dinner time, before dinner, after dinner on Saturday the 29th. So there's no sweets and there's no comfort zone there. Forget that. Sunday the 30th, moon's still in Pisces until after dinner. And the end of Pisces is pretty good. It's got a trine to Saturn, a trine to Mars, a trine to the Sun. So, you know, you can get a good plan going, get some chores done. This is physical stuff. Saturn is a cross of matter over the circle of personalities. Mars is a cross of matter over the circle of spirit. This is all about physical stuff. And this is a good time to be doing the physical things, the chores, to fix stuff on Sunday. In the middle of the day, okay? The moon shifts into Aries in the afternoon, and the vibes start to change. It still feels fairly good by the time you get to Monday morning, really early. If you got up, it'd be a trine to the sun. But you know, here's that Uranus-Pluto square. Here's sudden interruptions, sudden panics again. It's Monday morning, 31st. Is there a 31st of November? Well, anyway, it's Monday, and Uranus will shake you a little bit. Aphids, Henry. Aphids are loose in the garden. Eek, a bug. You idiots will never get that darn thing down the hole. I should be doing Neptune jokes. Sure, but can you make him drink? Good heavens, Stuart. She says, we're going to need the net. Just nibble at first, but when you hear them yell, piranha, go for it. Well, everybody feels fuzzy now and then, huh? Now for something completely different. You remember I got this book and I'm trying to get familiar with Mayan Aztec astrology, which looks like the best in the world so far. Look, here's the 20 day signs, getting familiar with them. And let me just show you one thing here. Because this is such fun to look at. But you got to look at it a long time. There's a lot of stuff here. Now this is labeled plate 71 of the Borgia Codex, and this is the sun and the moon. And you know, I know enough about it to know that here's the moon because here's the rabbit. Most cultures have a rabbit on the moon. That's what, when they look at the full moon, they see a rabbit in the moon, and there he is, see. So there's a rabbit, and here's a cat. And this is a moon cat. Yeah, and there's all kinds of things around here that the moon does, like there's a plate of food. So there's the moon. Here's the sun. Oh boy, look at him. He really dressed up, huh? Wow. All kinds of stuff. He's got a lot of jobs to do. This is just like looking at somebody in your modern world. You see a guy, you know, dressed in black with leather and holsters and guns and all this stuff. You know, it's a policeman. Yeah, so you know them by their costumes, huh? And the tools they're carrying around. You see a guy walking around with a pipe wrench, you figure he's probably a plumber. If he's got a hammer, you know, he's probably a carpenter, right? So these are kind of like the old woodcuts in the West, is that they put all the information into pictures. And there's all kinds of things in this. Like, look at that little guy there. Anyway, what got me was that on the outside of this thing are the 13 birds. And, you know, I started looking at these birds, trying to figure out who they are. And my other book came out, and there was a paragraph about the birds and somebody who deciphered them. And the first thing they noted is that one of these birds isn't a bird at all, it's a butterfly. So I managed to identify this guy. There's your butterfly, huh? Now the old translator had a list, and so first I had to determine which way to go. And so you start looking at these different birds and identified this guy as the eagle, right? And this one's a turkey. Wow. Now here is the great horned owl. And see how his head is cocked to one side? And I checked out the list, and there's another owl on there. There he is. And see how his head is cocked to one side? Only owls do that, turn their heads like that, evidently, when they look at you. So these are both owls, huh? And this guy's in red. This is a scarlet macaw. And here is a quetzal bird, the one with the beautiful blue-green jade-colored plumes. And here's a parrot. Not too much different between the two of them, huh? The quetzal bird must have been a kind of a parrot. So anyway, this took me, I had a wonderful time trying to check these guys. Of course, I was looking for my friend who is the raven. And they had him listed double, a raven or a black hawk eagle. And here's the way he looks. Yeah, raven or black hawk eagle, at least that's the way he looked to a Mayan. You can identify him kind of clear. But, and here's a quail. I would have expected a little knot on the head, but they're doing the females, I guess. Anyway, here's a dove. I don't know why it looks like that. Here's a hummingbird. Hummingbird has those long, skinny beaks, yeah, all of them. Here's another hummingbird. There's two of them here at the end of the list. Well, I managed to find out what kind of birds they all were. And I'm starting to get a lot of information out of this one plate in the codex, one page. It's a lot of information, huh? Now, if I could share with you for a minute about my studies, which is what I'm always doing. On October 8th, we had a full moon. This was a lunar eclipse on Uranus, okay? Uranus was, yeah. So this is a serious thing. And, you know, I haven't talked a lot about the fact it was an eclipse. What I did was kind of pumped up the normal Uranus stuff with things like the whirlies, you know. Remember this show? There was a... So, but I didn't see them. The tornadoes, what we saw, in fact, was not Uranus powered up by the full moon at all. We saw that eclipse over here at 15 degrees of Aries just do in Uranus. It just, you know, trashed him. Slash and burn, kill. Uranus just ate it. And so we saw a lot of weird stuff going on. We saw things like two rockets, two spaceships, one supplying the space station. On Tuesday went down, and then on Friday the spaceship was going to take tourists in to the he crashed. Two crashes of major Uranus kinds of characters, huh? And you know, frankly, the revolutionary spirit is kind of washed out. It went pow. It seemed to be gone. There's nobody in the streets anymore. There's no protest. There's no rational thinking from the higher mind. You know, the independent free spirit of this country of ours seemed to got squashed. The worst thing of all is here I'm on election day on November 4th, and the moon went all the way around here, and the moon is on Uranus where the eclipse was. And you know, I'm just feeling this morning like, what the hell, what's the sense? Why should I even try? The Nazis are taking over. You know, they're buying bigger cars now because the gas price went down a little bit. Everybody's ignoring the real issues. The heck with the other guy. Brotherhood just took a dive. There was a full lunar eclipse within just a few degrees of Uranus. So I went back to review what had happened here and looked in my ephemeris and found that the eclipse was at 1505, there it is, of Aries. And you see, my book is kind of washed out. I wasn't really that aware. And when I looked to see the position of Uranus, it's at 1424. What? That's only 41 minutes apart. I always use an orb of 1 degree. I thought this was off more. I was wrong. And now I understand how it is that Uranus took such a beating, and all of our spaceships are falling out of the skies. And the revolutionary spirit seems to have shrunk to nervousness and a feeling of aloneness. And there's all kinds of problems with electronics and airplanes and motors and things that go zzz, you know, they stop working. And yeah, this is a lousy time for Uranus. And lo and behold, we have a big election, and along comes the moon and goes by there. And you know, the people that need to be out there doing things, they're not. Gee. The United Nations. Yep. Here's the great Uranus. Well, of course, it's the internet, too. But the United Nations is where they try to treat all people equally, huh? And so what happened is, Friday they started, and they stayed up all night, and this whole bunch of people at the United Nations, and turns out they took a bit of a nap, 5 a.m. Saturday, and then they went back and finished it. That line by line, they said. Well, this came out in the paper this last weekend here, just before the election. The report's supposed to be released to the public on Sunday. This is from the Sunday paper. There's nothing in there. They didn't put it in the newspaper. Apart from discussing the human influence, it says, we're 95% sure, 95% certain that the buildup of these gases from burning of fossil fuels and deforestation is the main cause of warming since the middle of the 20th century. Oh boy, this is the United Nations. The report was adopted Saturday afternoon following the round-the-clock table. They started with the moon in Aquarius at 13 degrees on Friday. Anyway, the report says it offers conclusive scientific evidence that human activities are important. Conclusive. Yeah. This is the result of literally thousands of individual scientists publishing papers. They say in the report that melting of Arctic sea ice and rising sea levels already happening and could become irreversible unless the world curbs its greenhouse gas emissions. The report offers conclusive scientific evidence. Human activities continue to cause unprecedented changes in Earth's climate. He said that the report said the world has the technology and capacity to act and needs to do so urgently. The cost of achieving emissions cuts increases exponentially with each year because you have to make far more drastic changes in our economy. They're trying to get at those Republicans, trying to get at Saturn, say this is going to cost a lot more if you don't act now. Well, gosh. Steam and smoke arise from coal-burning power plant in Germany. Yes, and we're burning trash. Trash is 25-30% of all these bad gases. And we're about to set up to do more of that on the Big Island. Burn your trash. Oh yeah, it's not real. Don't worry about global warming. Your grandchildren will have to eat it. Well, I'm sorry. I get like this in every election. Yeah, I mean, they had a chance with Nader. I went totally behind Gore. Gore ran on that CO2 curve. But, American public, they ignore it. Come back next week. I'll be in a better mood. Aloha.